I was at a 360-degree vending machine. So vending machines just have the glass thing in the front and that's it. This one was like all around, like there's glass all around it, and there was different types of foods and beverages on each side, a four-sided vending machine. And on one side there was this piece of candy, and it was like a chocolate thing, but it was called Road Smash. It's pretty weird. And and I had a picture of it, and the candy was like a elongated puddle of chocolate.
Welcome back to the Out of the Box podcast, where Steele and I, Jose, your hosts, get to talk about out of the box ideas. Today, we're going to be talking about weird dreams, weird experiences that we had in our dreams that might be interesting to you guys. But before we get started, I just want to share a little bit about our podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to searching for truth. We like to bring different guests from different fields of study to come in our podcast and talk about just what's interesting about their field. Where are we going in technology, different stuff like that. Or in the past, what can we learn from history? And Steele and I have weekly podcasts about different topics. And today we're going to be talking about weird dreams. So Steele, I know you said before starting this podcast that sometimes you've had some emotional dreams, some really weird dreams. What 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 were you going with that? Like, what do you think? Like, have you had any emotional dreams?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I've had a lot of different ones, and they come in waves, like they don't happen that often, but when the emotional dreams happen, they tend to happen back to back for some reason over a period of like, several days or something. Maybe it's
Yeah,
maybe it's turning, maybe it's because of times of stress and like leaking in, you know. One of the kind of interesting ones that comes to mind first is like an example is like I was in like this computer lab at like kind of like a job or some university, and I knew it was my job, and I was looking at a computer, and my friend was there, and he kept like looking up like inappropriate things on the computer. I was like, dude, you can't do this in here because like you get in trouble and then I'll lose my job. We'll lose, I don't want to lose my job, so like stop it. And he kept doing that. I was like, man, and then all of a sudden like this guy in a suit walks in, and I kind of know he's like the boss.
yeah,
Starts like yelling at us and like stuff like that. I'm like, and then it's interesting because then he starts yelling at all the other employees that didn't even have anything to do with it. Like there's like some women there in like suits and like men in suits and stuff. It was mostly women, actually, now that I think about it, in suits, and he was like yelling at all of them, and I was like, and like in the dream I was like, this, first of all, this wasn't my fault, so I was getting frustrated. And then I started getting frustrated that he was taking out his anger towards me and my friend on everyone else who had nothing to do with it. So like I stood up in the dream and started like yelling back at him, but kind of like in a calm way, if that makes sense. And I was like, look, look around you, look what you're doing. Like you're making all these people feel bad for like a mistake that, like wasn't even, I started like talking him down and stuff. So that's kind of like in a weird emotionally high dream.
yeah. That's interesting, man. I think sometimes like when I have when I've had some like days of stress, I'll get dreams perhaps similar to that. Sometimes I've dreamt, that like I just lose my job and I'm like
Oh, really?
desperate. Like, yeah, like for example, yeah, I'll just like have a dream where somebody takes my job and like I have to like find a way to survive, but it's all in a dream, and
Preparing, do you think?
I wonder if it's like deepest fears that we have
Yeah,
sometimes in our subconscious
I
that we
wonder.
don't really put to words, and sometimes it just like creates a scene in our mind while we sleep.
And going off that, I wonder if you think it's like the brain's way of processing those emotions or like preparing for real life
Yeah.
or what could happen, maybe. I don't know.
But what's scary is that I have a lot of deja vus. So
Oh,
like sometimes I'm like, could this I wake up thinking maybe this could be real, maybe this could happen,
oh,
and
really?
so that kind of freaks me out sometimes. I'm like waking up and thinking that it could potentially happen.
Have they ever like come true? Like some of the dreams you've had, or is it like
Not these like weird ones, but like I'll have deja vus in the sense of like I'll wake up, I'll be doing something, just day-to-day stuff, and then all of a sudden I'll see the same image that I had in my dream, and I'll remember back to that dream, but it will be like, oh, this is what I dreamt. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
kind
weird.
of interesting.
Yeah, that must
Yeah,
be really surreal.
yeah, and like, and it's kind of weird because I know I've dreamt this moment, and then I kind of look away sometimes, and I look back, and it disappears, right? Like that spark, that moment, that where you have that deja vu, like everything just aligns, like people, like everything, like the background,
Yeah,
your
it's
movement,
familiar.
everything just aligns to a scene from your dream.
Yeah, it's like it
Because
feels familiar. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And it's so interesting because even like my mom, one time she woke up, and she was saying, she was like, yeah, today I'm gonna win a TV. And I was like, what do you mean? And that day it was like parents' day at my school. And so I was helping out and whatever, like just because I was a senior there and I was organizing and helping out with different groups. I was helping out with the Spanish group. Um, and so afterwards there was a raffle. My mom, my mom kept on telling me, "I'm gonna win a TV. I'm gonna win a TV." I saw it in my dream, and I was like, "That's so weird." And yeah, one of the things that was being raffled was a TV.
wow.
And so like people started winning the smaller prizes, right? Because that was going to be one of the bigger ones. And surely enough, her ticket wins the TV. And I was like,
That's crazy.
what in the world? Because she told me that since the morning, like since she woke up, she was like, yeah, like today I'm gonna win a TV. I'm like, what do you mean, mom? Like, what the heck? Like, that's weird. Like, how do you know that?
It
But
happens.
prophetic, everything happened. Like everything that she told me, I was like, I started to wonder, like, man, maybe like dreams are prophecies as well, right? Like
Not
you can
just
prophesize through
yeah,
dreams.
not just processing emotions in the day, but also maybe the future. Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
definitely makes you think.
Mm, because we exist in time, but perhaps our dreams happen outside of time, which
Uh,
means that if they do happen outside of time, you could dream something that will happen futuristically. Depending on the actions you take during that day, your path could lead you to another direction, and perhaps what your dreams are doing, which are futuristic, they maybe could be preventing you or telling you a message of like, hey, stop doing this or stop going in this direction because this might bring hardship or this might bring something else. So maybe, or it might be, it might bring good. So it's maybe a reaffirmation that you're going on the right path.
yeah, there's definitely a
Um,
big mystery about whether dreams are from a higher dimension outside our own, or are even being communicated with
yeah.
symbols from a higher dimensional being.
Well, it's interesting because in the Bible, if you notice, like a lot of a lot of people in the Bible would would receive messages from God through their dreams. Like
Right.
for example, like Joseph, the father of Jesus, he like I think both the messages like of like, hey, don't be afraid to take Mary as your wife because he was thinking of leaving her, was in a dream. Also the dream of like taking his family to Egypt because King Herod was gonna kill all the newborns or like the 2-year-old babies. So he had that in a dream. And so he took action. And so it's interesting. I wonder if our ancestors had something um that we haven't re-encountered about dreams.
Yeah, that's true. And they took dreams more seriously back then, including the Egyptians too. So they practiced it more probably, and maybe they experienced those things more because of that. So definitely. So another thing actually, are you gonna say something?
No, no, no. I was
You were like, I don't
I was just thinking, I was just thinking, yeah, I was thinking just like maybe like perhaps the fact that we're living in such a fast-paced society, we don't have time to process all that information, which therefore, we're not able to listen to those messages that maybe God or the universe, is trying to tell us,
yeah, I guess
right? And so
push
it
to the
gets pushed, yeah, it gets, lost in life, right? And so yeah, because we kind of like what we were talking about, we're spiritual human beings are spiritual and physical, right? Body and soul, body and spirit in combination. Um, but a lot of people think we're just physical. And so when you just um limit the human being to just being physical, then dreams are just but images from something, like
yeah,
everything's begin to become just like superficial, um, in whenever it's something transcendental,
yeah, and
you
that's what
know?
drives that idea of dreams not being as important these days. I definitely think so. And um, so another weird dream was like in like a zoo, and with like it was like one of those reptile insect type exhibits. So there's glass cages and walls with them and stuff. And I was with my friend and my mom, and we were walking around, and I saw like these wooden cages that had like glass around them, and there's a whole bunch of like cluttered wires with like this desk, and I guess maybe it was their workstation or something. But it was my friend got the keys off the shelf near that area because he wanted to like I guess open one of the glass tanks, and it was creepy because in one of the cages like had water, and there's like a giant piranha in the tank in the water, and it was weird because I remember it like being I don't know, like a structure, like had the piranha like fixed in a spot in the tank. But when he opened it up, like my friend opened up the tank and then his fingers got bit off and stuff. And so it's just one of those really weird, I don't know, really weird things where, yeah, it's like a giant
Where
piranha in a zoo. Like,
giant piranha just eats his finger.
yeah,
That's
or
kind of
yeah, like it's just creepy almost too.
yeah.
And like,
Yeah, I mean, I've had some weird dreams like that too. Like
yeah,
there was this weird dream that I kept on having when I was younger that like and then they made a movie actually off of this,
oh, really?
which was weird because I kept on having these dreams when I was younger. And it was like with spiders,
Huh.
and I would be running. I would start like walking. Then I would see little spiders like crawling in different places, and then I would start like running, and um, like more bigger spiders started to come out. And then I started sprinting like really fast, and like these huge spiders like were coming out of nowhere. They were
Worse.
just like following me, and I always wondered what that meant because it just kept on happening, that same dream,
Over and
like
over.
spiders following me. And
Huh.
I was like, maybe I'm just meant to be Spider-Man.
Right. Well, apparently, like what I've heard online is that spiders represent females. So you were being chased by females at that time?
Maybe it could be. I've
But,
never thought about it that way, but I
um,
was really young, you know?
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It could mean anything, but yeah, that's pretty weird, actually. Maybe you're like trying to overcome a phobia of spiders.
Could be.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Like
Yeah.
some dreams are hard to explain, like to try to figure out the reason. Like some of them are complete paradoxes, right? So like I had this dream where I was going into a dentist, like my dentist's house, and in the dentist's house, it was old wood style everything. And of all places for this to be, there's a huge buffet of desserts in the dent, like a dentist. Like
Yeah.
that's
Like the irony. Yeah.
yeah. It was just so cool. And there's like I noticed like I have different dreams like this. Like there'll be new types of foods that don't exist in the real world. So like I'll see like a chocolate bar with like a different brand name and a different type of shape. And then I'll see these other chocolate desserts, but like they're like these weird shapes that I can't really describe. And I don't know, it's just weird. And I'm like, man, I wake up, I'm like, I wish that was real because Like just actually this past week I had a dream where I was at a 360-degree vending machine. So vending machines just have the glass thing in the front and that's it. This one was like all around, like there's glass all around it, and there was different types of foods and beverages on each side, a four-sided vending machine. And on one side there was this piece of candy, and it was like a chocolate thing, but it was called Road Smash. It's pretty weird. And and then a picture of it, and the candy was like a elongated puddle of chocolate with
Yeah.
little nerd candies in it, as if it was a Crunch Bar with nerd candies. I was like, "Oh man, I want to try that. I want to get that." And it's funny because in the dream, it was $6 in the vending machine. And in the dream, I was thinking, "Oh yeah, got." I was like, "Yeah, prices are going up. That makes sense." Oh, it's just weird things like that, like
Dude, that's crazy. Like, imagine, I mean, it sounds like this could potentially be, you know, uh, a vision of the future,
yeah.
vending machines that are 360, um, different candies. I mean, I wonder if, or maybe you just tapped into a different universe,
That's another interesting thing, right? What if you're going
portals.
a parallel alternate universe each night? Because if there's like an infinite amount of those, which allows free will to exist according to certain theories, then I mean that kind of would explain. But I don't know for sure. But it's an interesting idea, definitely.
Yeah.
But I
Like
think
you're a time traveler or like a dimensional traveler when you dream. Like
exactly
if people knew that, or if this was if that was a reality, then people might take like dreams seriously.
way more seriously. Yeah,
Because maybe we've been trying to figure out how to time travel or teleport to somewhere else, and maybe it's like dreams. Maybe it's like through dreams that we can already do that. I don't know. Maybe there's literature from ancient cultures that practice dreaming.
that's true. I mean,
Because it was I've actually I read somewhere where there was some indigenous communities that would actually wake up at 4 in the morning, um, and talk about their dreams. Like what
yeah,
you do of writing down your dreams, they will wake up like at 4 in the morning to write down their dreams. And it was just like a constant habit of doing that. Like even for example, like in the Bible, it talks about one of the kings being tormented by his dreams, and then they would call like David to play his harp so that it would console, um, it would help him. And so I wonder like if ancient cultures, have something to do with dreams and like maybe something that we've lost throughout the years.
yeah. Honestly, it could be because we it's it's making some kind of comeback in a small way, like with the new age stuff. But but yeah, we've definitely lost that. We've lost the specialness of dreams, I think. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it's
like,
very interesting, man.
yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm thinking of like any dreams that I've had in the past that were weird. I
yeah.
mean, I think I've shared this dream already in in another podcast,
Was it
but
the mannequin?
yeah, the mannequin that
Yeah,
that peed on me.
yeah,
That was a weird one, man.
that's
That
the
was a
weird
weird one.
that's the
But
one
I've had like you know, dreams where like I'm a politician and people are asking
oh,
me
really?
questions, like the press is asking me questions, and it's just like super stressful, and like I can't keep answering questions, and people are still like, "Hey, what do you think about this? This is blah blah blah."
It's like that pressure, like
Yeah, the pressure. Yeah, pressure. Or I've had dreams where I find a treasure. Like there's been dreams that are like actually pretty like awesome where I'm like I just don't want it to end.
don't wanna wake
Like
up.
where Yeah, like I found like I went on an adventure, like I did all this stuff, super cool, and like I found a treasure, but then, you know, like like it ends and I'm just like, "Oh,
Yeah,
like
it's
I
like,
wanted to like use
I wish
that
that was
treasure,"
yeah, I wish
or
that
like
was real.
I'm a superhero, or like, or something like that where it's really awesome and I kind of want to keep going, you
Same,
know, and I almost kind of want to fall back asleep so I can continue the
yeah,
story.
same. I've
And
had dreams like I had one just this morning where I was about to find what was behind this door, and then I woke up and I was like, "I wanna know what was behind that door." But, like, I've had a
uh
lot of dreams where find some old Legos that I didn't even know were in my storage, like, or in my shop or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wow, I didn't even know I had all these." And it's, like, really cool Lego sets and really cool buildings, and I wake up, I'm like, "Oh, man, I wish that was real," you know? Or, like yeah, I don't know, I've had a lot of dreams like that where I'm like or actually, another dreams I have where I was the opposite, and I'm like, "Oh, man, thank God that was a dream," you know? Like, dreams of being late to work or getting into some type of legal trouble somehow or forgetting to study for a test and then I have to take the test. Like that happens a lot too.
Yeah, I've had a couple pop quizzes in my
Oh
dreams.
yeah. And I wake up, I'm like so stressed out in the dream, and then I wake up, I'm like, oh man, that's a relief. Or like something goes wrong, you know?
Yeah, being late to work or being late.
Yeah,
That's one of the things that like messes with me sometimes. Like
yeah.
time comes into play in my dreams a lot. Like, oh,
I think that
missing the
means.
time, not acting on time, like stuff like that.
Mhm.
It
What do you think that means about how you feel about time, you know?
I think I think the concept of time is something that's created a lot of stress for people. However, it has brought a lot of organization, you know, because people can say like, "Hey, I'll meet you at 10 or I'll meet you at 11 at this particular spot."
Mhm.
So it's a predictable outcome, almost like you know, an atom. Like an atom, you can only know where the electrons are at only a particular time and space, but you can't know where it's gonna be next, right? And so I think that's the natural way of life, right? You don't know where people are gonna be, but like now with technology, where you have phones, where you have what's it called, like time, you know, timers and all this, you know, we are able to pinpoint exactly like where somebody's going to be at a certain time. Oh, they're going to show up at class at 2 p.m. For this activity, you know. And so I think it's like it's taking out the element of surprise or perhaps the element of randomness,
Yeah.
right, that life can bring. So
Yeah, we need time.
because I wonder how people would live life when they didn't have a time. I mean, I guess like they've always kind of had some sort of like relationship with the sun or something like that,
A lot different now.
but they but like a particular time, you know. And so I just think that uh time it has its pros and its cons. I think we overemphasize time in society. Um because to some degree like time can be relative sometimes, like sometimes it feels like it's going really slow whenever we're doing an activity that we don't like, or sometimes it goes really fast when and we're like time just flies with a certain activity that we enjoy. So it almost becomes relative, um
That's
you
exactly
know, and finding a um peace with time. And I guess that's why sometimes I have dreams about time, because maybe it's like my inner struggle with the concept of time.
I think so too. I think that all plays into it. Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think that leaks into our dreams. These things we think about, like you said, with time and that stress, it manifests itself in the dream, and maybe it's the way of processing it, you know? But yeah, I just saw
yeah,
another weird dream that I had this October, and I was at my friend's house, and there's like these killer whales, like baby killer whales in his pool outside. I was like, oh, that's really cool. You know, you got some killer whale like, jumping and diving in the water. And so I went into his room and it was like really dim, and him and his brother were on their phones and stuff. And Jacob, what was it? Oh, I was telling him, I was like, dude, you have all these killer whales. That's so freaking awesome. Like, you know, and then all of a sudden the whales started like running into the house, which doesn't make sense, right? Because they're killer whales. You know, like, how does that happen? But when they came into the room that we were in, they started kind of looking more like a sea lion, like mixed with a killer whale. You know, and I can't even really describe it, but I still thought of them as a killer whale, even though they were like a sea lion. And then they were like acting like dogs. They were like wanting me to pet them, and I could feel the softness of their skin. It was really weird, you know. And it was exciting. Just like.
It was exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting, yeah, because I was like, "Oh, they're like dogs," you know? And then, my friend's brother was like, trying to tell him to calm down, like, you would tell a dog to calm down, they're like, "Calm down," you know what I mean?
It's
Really
all
weird.
right. It's all right. Don't get too excited.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I also noticed I have a lot of reoccurring dreams of having to use the restroom, but there's always a dilemma. Either I can't make it to the restroom, or when I do make it to the restroom, it's like some type of weird setup that doesn't it's like there's a lack of privacy. So, like, I'll have to use the restroom in really elaborate ways. So, like, one time I dream I was in a restaurant and I'd use the restroom, and the for some reason, I couldn't go in the public restroom, I don't know why, I think it was crowded. So, like, there was, like, a fancy silver dinner tray, so I started urinating in that instead, and then it started overflowing, and then it started going on the carpet and towards people in the restaurant, and I was in the dream, I was, like, stressed out about it, you know? But it's like, why would that happen? Like, why would when would I ever do something like that? Great. Or, like, other times, I'm in, like, a
Yeah.
warehouse full of tents, and I'm trying to find a restroom, and then I go into, like, a tent, but then there's people in there, and then I have to go in this weird room, and then there's, like, a curtain, but a female security guard has to watch me for some reason, and I'm trying to use the restroom, but I'm, like, nervous, you know? Or, like, the most recent one, I was going into these old stalls, and it's always this reoccurring thing where there's old stalls, and they're, like, falling apart, and there's, like, a lack of privacy, or the lock is broken, or part of the wall is broken, or the toilet looks weird, and it's rusty, and something's wrong with it. And this time let's see, I was in a stall. I went past this kid and the father, and then they were leaving. And then the tattooed man was with them, this tattooed guy. And for some reason, the tattoo guy came underneath the stall that I was in, the stall next to me, right? Stall over here, and I'm in this one. And he came underneath the wall into my stall and then left exited through my stall. And then the father and the kid did the same thing. And I closed the door so I could have privacy, but the tattoo man was, like, waiting outside the door, just, like, with his arms crossed, like, watching me, like, somehow, like, through the stall or something, and I felt nervous about it. I was like, "This is weird. Like, why is this?" And for some reason, instead of using the toilet, I was facing the stall door, and I was trying to, like, aim for the lock, and I don't like, what
You're
is
trying
that?
to pee at the lock?
Yeah, because some reason it was important. I don't know. Yeah, like, it's weird. There's always stuff around that. I'm sure it's because
Yeah, there's sometimes like weird things like that where in a dream you just like know that's how it's supposed to be.
yeah,
Like
like,
you
in the
just
dream.
know what you're supposed to do. Like, yeah, you have to pee at the lock, and
Yeah,
that's what's gonna like protect you, or that's what's gonna help.
exactly.
But
Doesn't make sense.
that yeah, yeah, that's weird, man. But it's interesting themes that kind of keep resounding, and perhaps maybe that could have a deeper insight into like something that you think about. Maybe
Yeah,
privacy is really important to you,
yeah,
right? Or especially like in very intimate moments, like privacy is something you want to
yeah.
conserve.
I think
Um,
that's right. Mhm.
some thoughts.
I agree, and I think overactive bladder definitely plays a role because usually after those dreams, I'll wake up and I'll have to use the restroom, and I'm like, "Okay, that's probably what triggered that." But yeah, there's definitely, like you said, and I've kinda picked up on that, is, like, there's always a theme of a lack of privacy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really
like
interesting.
with privacy.
Anxiety
Yeah,
too about it, you know? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I also wonder, man. I mean, this is more of I guess in a comedic sense,
Yeah.
sort of. Like so when one's younger, we go through this stage of like dreams that I think it's like I think something that sometimes people fate like go through, and perhaps is a desire to be loved by someone or be like appreciated by someone, and it's also like where we start encountering like more of our like sexual desires and stuff like that. And like the experience of like wet dreams and stuff like that is also something that perhaps like for some people like it's weird to experience. However, like to some degree it's like pleasurable, but like I wonder why, like, we go through those stages, or like if our ancestors go through those stages as well, you
Yeah.
know, because with now like technology and stuff, like images of people like being so readily available, like I wonder if like that plays into that those dreams, or like if it's actually just natural that kids have like
think
wet dreams or stuff like that.
I want to lean towards natural actually because the only reason I say that is because I read the book of Leviticus in the Bible, and it talks about nocturnal emissions, and it says that if you have one of those, you're unclean for like 7 days. And you could interpret that in different ways. You could interpret it as unclean spiritually, or you could interpret it as literally like unclean because it's not like they had showers back then or anything. So, I mean, I tend to fall towards the latter because if it's uncontrollable, then how could it be considered bad, if that makes sense? Because then you would have to also say that the menstrual cycle falls into the same kind, because that was also described in Leviticus and described the nocturnal emission and the menstrual cycle and how you're unclean for 7 days after those happen. So, I mean, it traces all the way back to that. So maybe it's been something for,
Yeah, maybe it has been around for some time.
and yeah, scientifically too, if you look at it, it's
Yeah, but
wildly
it sometimes like sometimes where like it would happen, like for example, like in scenarios where in my scenarios, like I would have like crushes or something like that
common.
that I really liked come out in dreams, and they happen to be my girlfriend, or like they happen to just like be with me, you know, like, and it was just like I don't know if it was a deep desire of mine to be with my crush, you know?
I think so.
Um,
I haven't had like sensual dreams like that, but I don't know if that's what you're referring to. But growing up, definitely middle school and high school, I had a lot of dreams about girls I had crushes on. Uh, and a lot of them balance between going on a date with them and being excited, or they show up to a family event and I'm excited to talk to them and stuff, or it's the opposite where I'm in the dream, I'm nervous and anxious and I want to talk to them, but they're giving me bad vibes or they're giving the cold shoulder in the dream, you know? And so it's gone back and forth. And then I've also had dreams of girls that I've never seen or met before that just manifested in the dream and in like a random store, for example, was one of them, and like a dollar store. It was a weird store, cluttered and stuff with junk and stuff. And I met her in there and then just held her hand and wanted to talk to her. And so like it's my dreams have been more about stuff like that for some reason. Like kind of like that's what made me think is what you said about wanting some type of romantic connection that you're lacking in your real life, you know? So I've had a lot of those. Not for a while though. It's been a long time actually, quite a few years. But then I also had, I
yeah.
don't know about you. I don't know if you ever had this actually, but I had a lot of dreams about my ex girlfriends after like the breakup, or like a year or so after, or several months later. I would have dreams about reuniting with them and either just hanging out or going or getting back together, or just quick little flashes of us sitting together, you know? So
Yeah. I've had that recently, like after I broke up with my most recent girlfriend, like I would still see her in dreams, like hanging out, or like things were better. Like, you know, maybe we didn't get back, but we were still really good friends.
yeah.
So I have had that experience of like meeting up, or not even meeting up, but just kind of like hanging out with them. And yeah, but it's like weird because in the dream, like everything's fine, but like in reality,
Yeah.
like things are
Yeah.
not that great. But
I don't
it's
know about you,
weird. Yeah, like things fix themselves or something in
exactly.
dreams.
And I don't know about you, but when you wake up from a dream like that, it feels kind of jarring. It feels kind of weird. It almost like certain dreams, like you have to take a few minutes to like regather what reality is and what
Yeah, recalculate like, oh, was that where we actually are at?
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Or even like a lot of the homework and test dreams where I have reoccurring dreams of going into a classroom, like history is the most common because I've never been good at history, so I know that's probably why. And I'll go into a history classroom and I'm back in high school, but for some reason, I know I'm the same age. I know I graduated from college, but for some reason, I have to go back to high school to take classes there for something, and somehow it makes sense. But I'll have that reoccurring dream. I go into a history classroom and I forgot to do the homework, and not only that, there's a test that day, and I didn't study for it at all
Mhm.
because I didn't even know, or I didn't, I forgot, or I didn't know. and I'm stressed out, and then when I wake up from a dream like that, I'm still kinda stressed out for a few minutes, and then I'm like, "Oh, wait, no. Thank God that wasn't actually real, like, I'm okay, I don't have to worry about it anymore." But it takes a while for that feeling to, like, go away sometimes, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, like I said before, yeah, I've had those like pop quiz exams in dreams, and it's always like nerve wracking, you know? Like I'm just like, oh,
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like,
exactly.
um,
One more
but
time.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I noticed, one of the things that I've never had the experience of, perhaps like maybe that I can remember, is like having music in my dreams.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah,
Trying to think if I have or not. I mean,
like noise. Like usually I can remember images and like scenes, but
oh, I definitely remember noise.
usually can't remember like music, like music being in a dream. Which is weird because I'm so musically inclined, but
Yeah, you would think you'd be having a lot of that.
yeah, more dreams about music or sound.
That is
It'll
really
be interesting. I wish I did, maybe tonight.
when you talk about it, that sometimes gets it going.
Perhaps, yeah, yeah.
Sounds
But that would be an interesting dream to have about music. Because if mu what if, like, dreams could reveal to you, like, songs that need to be written
that's
or,
happened
like,
before. I think a
yeah,
Beatles musician had that happen, and then they wrote the song from their dream. And I had that happen. Remember I told you like a few days ago? Like I had a dream about a song for my movie that I'm working on now, and it was like on electric guitar, and I was like, "Oh, this is a good theme. I need to do this," and I was trying to remember it, But that was
yeah, that's right, you were telling me.
yeah,
It's
yeah, it's pretty weird.
it's crazy. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, any last thoughts, Steel, wrapping it up?
Yeah, I'll close it out with like a final kind of short dream that just came to mind. I was with my friends in an apartment, kind of old and run down, and we were out of town for something, maybe some type of event. And the old dirty sheets, bed sheets, and all that. But the big thing was, is there's this suitcase, and in the suitcase was this clear glass tube, and in the tube was another tube, and there's like liquid around that tube, and then there's like this egg-looking thing inside the tube, and it would kind of like move a little bit. It was like as if it was an oil when you would move it around, but
Yeah,
somehow I knew it was really dangerous. It was extremely dangerous, and if you moved it too quickly, it would cause a nuclear explosion. Like somehow I knew this was like a nuclear level explosion device, and like so I was I kept focusing on that like that egg yolk in there, and it was like if that touches the side or the top or something, it's gonna blow up. And my friend was like messing with it and not being careful, and he like tossed it to me. I'm like, dude, don't do that. If it falls the wrong way, it could blow up. And then sometime later, I caught him and he was drilling holes inside of the tube with a drill. And I was like, what are you doing? You lost your mind. You're going to cause a nuclear explosion. And that whole dream was centered around that about, I don't want this thing to explode and kill all of us. And it was it was a lot of anxiety in that one. But I can't remember it was something else happened, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, like, closing it out though, do you have any other, like, dreams that you haven't mentioned yet or anything at all? Or any thoughts or
yeah. I mean, I think I just have themes of different stuff. Like I remember when I was younger, I would have dreams of getting lost and fearing getting lost from my parents, and so I would have dreams of like being at a Walmart store and kind of like messing around, hiding, and then all of a sudden I can't find my mother, and like I'm like, oh shoot. And so I go up to a police officer and I tell him like, hey, I lost my mom. So they start calling my mom through the intercom, right? Like, hey, like we have a kid here at the front who's lost and this and that. Like, please, if you know if this is your son, please come by and pick him up. But nobody would come. And that was like a very like I don't know, impactful. Those dreams were very impactful when I was younger, and it was always like very scary and weird because it's like, well, why isn't my mom coming? Like, why
Yeah,
am I left here by
fear.
myself?
Yeah, the fear of abandonment and being lost forever almost, you know?
Yeah, exactly, being lost forever. That's how I felt. Like that she was never gonna find me. Yeah, it was a weird dream, but
That is weird. That last one that reminds me of a like I have reoccurring dreams of driving and something goes wrong where I can't the brakes don't work and freaked out about not being able to stop, or I'm driving and I'm lost in some type of big city and I don't know how I'm gonna make it home. So I do, yeah, definitely.
dang, that's crazy. Nice. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to our podcast today. We hope that you really enjoyed it. And let us know down below in the comment section what you thought was interesting. Also, if you have any dreams that have been weird, please let us know down below in the comments as well. We'd like to hear what weird dreams you've had in the past. And also, subscribe to our channel because we are committed to continue providing content for you guys every week. So please stay subscribed to our channel and we'll see you next time. Take care.